Alright, lads, welcome back to another episode of Who's Got the Ball. Myself and Shane here once again. What's the crack, Shane?
Not a whole lot. Just looking forward to the weekend now and finally seeing you in real life instead of over Zoom calls once a week. So going up to you for Ron O'Gara's grudge match against Leinster.
Yeah, Shane's coming up for La Rochelle and Leinster game. We got tickets, gonna get a few pints and all that good stuff. But it should be a cracker of a game. I'm after seeing
Mm.
so many videos of Leinster players like after the last game on the sideline, like recording saying, "Guys, please come to the game." Blah blah. They obviously haven't sold the tickets out,
Oh
so
God.
they want a good
Yeah.
environment in there because they probably opened the whole Aviva, which they shouldn't have done because you're rarely going to sell out a game in there unless it's against Munster, or it's late on in the Champions Cup, not for a group stage game. But it's still going to be a great game regardless, and we've got our tickets, so we are ready for that one. Let's see how it goes. But we've got so much for this episode. We're going to go straight into the rundown because we covered off a lot. We started off with our not clutch, our performance of the weekend in the Premier League. Our clutch player of the week is in the NFL. Get to that in a sec. So we gave a lot of shout to Chelsea because we went hard on them last week. I thought they'd get battered by City, but they got the draw, probably deserved the win. So we went in there and we talked also about Liam Rosenior being their new manager and what that means for Strasbourg and the general concept of multi-club ownership and the issues with it. We moved into another managerial chat then about Ruben Amorim getting sacked from Man United, what that means for the club, how they handled it, not only from his side of things, but also from the board side of things, and what could be next for United. Next up, then we had Michael on, and we covered off the Celtics and their rise, how they outperformed everything people thought they could do at the start of the season, and then on the opposite end of things, how the Grizzlies are continuing to slide and could they completely slide out of the playoff pictures, and even the play-in picture with the way that they're going. Next up, we gave our Gan Seans picks for our underdogs of the week and update on the score there. We moved on then to the NFL. So much to chat about. Clutch player of the week, as I mentioned, Myles Garrett. We had to give it to him because we wanted to chat about the sack record and why he deserved it. Such a freak of nature on this team. A full wildcard round preview with our picks of each game. And then also our picks for the rest of the playoff brackets. Before it even starts, we give our picks from the wildcard round right up to the Super Bowl, as we did last year. Let's see how close we can get. And then last up, power rankings as usual to wrap up. Massive episode. Let's just get straight into it. Okay, so we're going to start with our performance of the weekend, as usual, from the Premier League. It was between two, but one. I think we kind of went so hard on them last week that it's only right that we kind of give them the performance of the weekend. We had both predicted Chelsea to lose 3-0 to City. We thought there was going to be no contest. Given the fact that they had an interim manager and they have a lot of young players. But in fairness to them, they fought very hard. Good performance. They were actually good value for that draw at the end. They deserved it probably. If any team deserved to win, it was probably them. I know City were more dominant in the first, but Chelsea really took it to them in the second half. So props to them for getting that draw. Neither of us saw that one coming, really.
Yeah, so you made a good point there that by the end of the game, they were the ones, if anyone was going to win it, it was going to be them. So City had 10 or 11 shots up until the 60th minute. And after that, it was like their legs fell off. They had two shots after that, and Chelsea just really took advantage of it from there. I think that Sunderland game really took it out of City in the end. So they were pushing till the last second to try and get a winner, and they obviously didn't get it. So yeah, Chelsea were very, very well deserving of the point. Without Caicedo, especially, I really, really thought they were going to struggle. And when City were dominant in the first half, they were nowhere near to looking like this is going to get ugly. There was no point
Yeah,
it looked like it was going to get ugly. Chelsea were holding their own the whole way through. City had zero big chances. Chelsea had three. Jorgensen looked really, really kind of calm and composed in goals. They looked a lot happier playing in front of him than they have ever done in front of Robert Sanchez as well. Yeah, they somehow managed to keep Erling Haaland quiet for nearly all of the 90 minutes. He didn't have too much that I can remember off the top of my head from watching it, and you'll always remember when he has done something. So the fact that I can't remember Brenton says a lot about him as well. It goes to show that Rosenior's coming into a team that if he can kind of get him on board, they have a fighting chance of not winning the title, but they definitely are in the top four race, obviously. That goes without saying, but they proved me wrong. A lot of those lads who I thought were just going to go out and do the flicks and tricks where they really put it in, like not Endrick, God, Estevao. And
Estevao.
Endrick now plays for Leon, if anyone didn't know. But
Yeah,
Estevao was he was basically doing a man marking job on Rodri at one point, like instead of just being the attacking threat that he's meant to be. So yeah, I was really surprised, and I was really really happy to see him do that as well because I thought your man was going to get an awful run coming into the City game, going to get battered, and then having to play midweek again before the Rosenior takes over. So yeah, I think they deserve all the praise in the world. They had less shots, but they had better XG. They had more big chances. So everything that kind of matters, they were better at.
Yeah, I agree with you. They had the team set up well. I think he did a good job in fairness and had them drilled. And that was a good selection, like you mentioned, with the goalkeeper to actually go and do that of his own accord. Well, we can take that for what it's worth. Maybe someone else told him to do it the way Chelsea goes, but we'll give that to him because it seems like that wasn't being done the whole time, and Sanchez was being stuck with despite clearly making errors. A couple of things before we talk maybe a bit more about the managerial situation is on the City side of things. Like it was a bit of a disaster injury wise for them because Gvardiol broke his leg, and then Ruben Diaz is out for 6 weeks with a hamstring injury. But it's like you looked at United as an example here, that and other teams fall into this, including Liverpool, where United were without De Ligt and Maguire for an extended period of time, and the squad is depleted. Martinez is only just back, and we're playing with two guys under the age of 20 at centre back. And the club is just like, oh yeah, fair enough. That sounds terrible. Off you go. Whereas City are just like, oh yeah, no
Yeah,
problem. Two guys um, got injured, and one of them's going to be back in 6 weeks. Yeah, we'll just buy someone else. We'll go and get Gahey for you. We might even buy someone else as well. On top of that, they just throw money around like no other team, and it's kind of unfair for the rest of the league to keep up with that kind of spending.
yeah. I don't see Mark Way going anywhere this winter. I do think he is going to see it out with Crystal Palace, kind of try and win that Europa Conference League if they can. But unless City come and say, here's 500 grand a week, which obviously I presume they're not going to offer him anything like that, he'll surely wait it out until the summer. As a Liverpool fan, I'll be sick as a dog if he goes there in January and Liverpool don't try and put in a bid themselves or try and match him on it, considering they had terms agreed in the summer as well. But yeah, the way City can just like, they're signing Semenyo to replace Marmoush, who they signed last January. And
Yeah,
it's like, oh, he didn't work out in a year. It's only been a year. We're gonna go replace him now and send him somewhere else, or get rid of Savino, get rid of Doku. So players who have actually been doing well for him, but they don't have exactly scorching numbers. But every time you watch him, you're looking, geez, the Doku always looks dangerous. Savino, I wouldn't say he always looks dangerous, but when he's on form, he's an absolute machine as well. And Marmoush is not a winger. He's the new Julian Alvarez almost as kind of a backup to Haaland. But they'll go and sign Semenyo. They could go and sign a centre back, even though they have Kushinov, they've Vitor Reyes out on loan. They've recalled a kid from Watford. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's a centre back as well. So by the end of January, they could have 6 or 7 centre backs on their books. And you're just like, how do you sustain this? And Joe, as we give Chelsea so much abuse, we did for the whole summer. It was nearly week on week. We were giving Chelsea abuse for signing winger after winger. Man City are doing the exact same thing, but people
yeah,
just kind of City aren't a story anymore. So we kind of, well, to be honest, I let it fall by the wayside. I presume you were the same. The journalists let them get away with it as well. Whereas when it was Chelsea, they were getting battered by us in particular, and I'm sure we probably weren't the worst of it somehow. But if City go and sign a centre back and a winger and a backup striker this winter and sell no one, then so what's the story with these charges? Like, do we
yeah. I
just
know.
forget that
Seems
they're
like
happening
they're
now? And it's
literally
just
never
kind
coming
of
back.
yeah, it's like, oh, it's so complicated. Give us another 6 months. Give us another 6 months. Like people don't want to keep waiting. People want to know what the story is with what you've let City away with so far. And if they get away with this, then all hell is going to break loose because nothing is ever going to matter again if City get away with this one now. But yeah, I was like, obviously, I kind of want City to win the league just so Arsenal don't. But the more it goes on and the more they do this and that, the harder it gets for me to kind of sit on the City side of things. Arsenal have built the squads really well last summer. You see it now. We might talk about them at some point in the next week or two, but they've had a really, really good week again. Beating Bournemouth away, good result. Declan Rice, 2 goals. And their backup players are really, really good as well. They were really good kind of second 11. I was only going through it with two of the lads the other day looking at where would Arsenal's second 11 finish in the league. It's like, do you know what? They'd probably be between 7th and 10th. But when you're dropping those players into a team that's going to win the league, then it just makes for a really, really balanced and good squad.
Yeah, they've done it in the right way, I think, over a long term.
Yeah.
Like, I know they've spent a lot of money as well, but it's not the way City do, where they just throw it around. And I think they will sign a centre back. If it's not Gay, he'll be someone else because that's just the way they do it. And like you said, they've signed Semenyo, and they haven't even shipped off who they're replacing, who is Savino and Marmoush, who haven't really got a full chance, you would say, for the majority of other teams. That's not a full chance. And it's just kind of like I saw a City fan, like one of those fan pages, I guess it was maybe, tweeting about it and saying, like, oh, this is one thing City don't get credit for. Like, they move quickly and they don't let players like stagnate and all this stuff. And you're just like, you have no idea. Like, no other club in the world can do that, especially with financial fair play in place. Like Newcastle probably have the wealth to do that, but they can't because of FFP. So it's like you can't just say, "Oh, we do this great thing where we just buy loads of players, and then when they don't work, we buy loads more players." Like it's not,
Yeah.
it's not sustainable, and hopefully it comes back to bite them with the charges. Personally, I think, but I'm gonna move us on to talking about Liam Rosenior because we alluded to Chelsea getting him last week. So what's crazy about this? Like, I think he didn't have the best of times at Hull, 27 wins in 78 games, but much better at Strasbourg, 32 wins in 63 games. I read a couple of things that he had written when he was writing for, I'm not sure which newspaper it was. I think it might have been The Guardian. And he had a column there, and he had some really interesting tactical pieces. So he knows his stuff, like, and he's clearly doing quite well at Strasbourg. But the two sticking points, one is the fact that Chelsea have ripped him away from Strasbourg while he's doing well because of this multi-club ownership deal that they have. And then the second thing is that they gave him a 6.5 year contract. It's just absolutely
Mm,
crazy. Like, for a guy to be unproven and given that much, it's just out of this world. So I'll quickly read off the Strasbourg Supporters Club press release,
thank
and
you.
then I'll get your thoughts. So they said the transfer of Liam Rosenior marks another humiliating step in Racing's subservience to Chelsea. For 2.5 years, along with others, we have been trying to raise the alarm about this. The problem goes far beyond the mid-season sporting impact and the ambitions of a young coach. It is structural. The future of French club football is at stake. Every additional contortion by Mark Keller, every extra minute spent at the helm of the club, is an insult to the tremendous work accomplished before 2023. What was seen by many as an outrageous move last September increasingly looks like sound advice. He must leave now. The FSCRS will coordinate closely with the three other associations actively fighting against multiple ownership, as well as all people of goodwill, to define the next steps. It's pretty clear what they want, and it's hard to argue with them.
Yeah, that's I presume that was written in French, so I'm actually disappointed you didn't read their statement out in French, to be honest, but I'll let you away with it just this once. If they release another statement, I'm expecting it in French.
Okay, I'll
I have
practice my
such an
French.
issue with Yeah, I have such an issue with this move. And everything that they've said in that press release is exactly why I have such an issue. Like if they had won their final two games of last season, they'd have finished third and they'd have gotten Champions League football instead of Chelsea because Chelsea had finished fourth in the Premier League. They conveniently lost those two games to the end of the season, so Chelsea got their Champions League place. Everything they do, they send players on loan to Strasbourg. They take Strasbourg's best players to Chelsea. Andre Santos was their captain last year, straight to Chelsea, not getting a look in. He'd been better off served playing there. I know he was really good when he came on now at the weekend, but like Maresca didn't seem to fancy him at all. He was excellent at Strasbourg. Everything Strasbourg do, as they say, is in service of Chelsea. And Strasbourg are a big club in their own right in France. They're like, well, not at the moment. Well, they were, and they kind of had a drop off, but they're trying to get back to being a really big club again, trying to challenge the likes of PSG, Monaco, Marseille. Maybe not PSG, but the likes of Monaco, and Marseille. They are trying to challenge them, and just taking their manager away just like that, like it's just nothing. It's like, okay, where do we go next? We brought Liam Senior in. Let's take him and bring him to Chelsea. It's mental and it's really unfair. And their president has threatened to quit as well over this. I haven't seen if he has followed through with that or not yet, but I really hope he has followed through with it because it's absolutely scandalous what Chelsea are doing there. UEFA need to have a look at it as well because this is not how multi clubs are meant to work. It's not one club being inferior to the other, and this is what you do, and you take your managers here. It's not like it's Barca B, who are literally they're there to serve Barcelona A. This is a club in a different country playing in its own league, trying to make its own money with its own fans in its own right. It's not Pep Guardiola going from Barcelona B to Barcelona. This is a completely separate entity that have just been very unlucky that they've been bought by the same lads who own Chelsea and only seem to care about Chelsea. Jonah in City is another one, not to the same extent, but Sabinho was their best player, and suddenly he's free for a blip of the price he should have been going to Man City for. I think they only paid 35 million when he was probably worth 70 million in that market that summer. It's just this multi-owner thing. Just it actually needs to stop because it's not helping anyone bar the big teams. And I don't think there's another country in the world where anyone's doing it. I don't think Bayern have another club. Barcelona don't. Real Madrid don't. It only seems to be the clubs that are in England. Obviously, Marinakis has one in Turkey as well, but that's also involving an English team because English league is where the money is for them, and
Yeah,
it's all they care
exactly.
about is their bottom dollar at the end of the day. It's
That's where they
absolutely
come in.
scandalous, and I really do feel
They
I
come
feel
in
for the
like
Strasbourg fans.
at that point where they see the opportunity to buy an English team, and then that's your like foothold, and then from there you can branch out. Like even Abramovich did it before with Vitesse in Belgium, but they weren't like a
Yeah,
team that was ever going to get into Europe, so it didn't pose some of the things that it does now because he could send players on loan there and things like that. Whereas this is like a situation where you're basically using it as a feeder club for your talent and your future, like a test basically of we'll send this guy here, see how he gets on. If he's good enough, we'll get him to Chelsea. If not, we'll let him go somewhere else. And it's just, yeah, it's not real football. It's not what it's about, especially for the fans of that team. It's hard to stomach it because you don't know what is the point in anything because anybody good you have, you probably do expect them to be sold, but at least you expect them to go
mm,
to another team or a team that that might be interested in paying what they're worth instead of just shipping them off to another club that's owned by you, and then the money's probably not going to be spent until they see an opportunity to test out somebody else there. So it is a bit of a sickener
absolutely.
for Strasbourg fans. We did want to give a shout as well to Brentford for getting their win. So they beat Everton 4-2. Thiago back flying got a hat trick, and Keith Andrews has them up to seventh with 30 points, and they're literally only 1 point off the Champions League now. So absolutely flying under the Irishman.
Yeah, I'm absolutely delighted to be. I've never been so happy to be so wrong because I picked them to get relegated, and he has done such a good job there. Igor Thiago is the highest human goal scorer in the Premier League because Erling Haaland doesn't count. So he's been absolutely brilliant. He signed last year and missed most of last season with injuries, and clearly the preseason he had this summer has just made him so hungry. All of his goals are always really well taken. His penalties are really well taken, bar the one he missed. Kevin Schade looks like a really, really good foil for him as well. It's actually like they've replaced Mbrumo and Vissa with players that were already there, and they're playing the same role as the two lads were for him as well. It's such a good setup at Brentford, and Keith Andrews is really reaping the benefits of it. Nathan Collins is reaping the benefit of it as well. He's been absolutely superb from his captain. Yeah, they absolutely batter at Everton. They had
Yeah,
six big chances. It's just they looked unstoppable, and Everton were not going to be a team that were going to stop them on that day. Everton were lucky to get the two goals they did. It could have been far worse from if things had kind of fallen half an inch another way for Brentford. It could have very well been five or six from.
yeah, and Everton are a team that are going quite well themselves with Brentford. Caught them with that win,
Yeah,
so good to be beating the teams that are kind of around you and also doing well, which is a good sign, not just beating up on the smaller teams. But the most major development, really, I think, during the week is Ruben Amorim getting sacked by Manchester United.
I'm
So
ready to go.
he's got the popcorn out ready for what I'm about to say. First of all, 63 games and 25 wins is just not good enough. But the way he left the club is a lot more telling about the club than him as a manager. So United were willing to put up with losing form, a manager who at times it was questionable whether he understood the heritage and identity of the club. But if you dare question the great Jason Wilcox, then that's the end of you. That's it. You're done. Like it's just embarrassing from Ineos that they allowed it to get to this point because they were willing to put up with multiple losses in a row. At the team finishing 15th last season and basically being an embarrassment in the Premier League all of last season and only focusing on the Europa League. They'd given him assurances that he's going to stay. I feel for Amarim, to be honest, because although he wasn't perfect and he was very stubborn, he had clearly made that clear that that was how he was going to be from the start. And they accepted that. They signed off on it. Berarda recommended him. as the CEO. Wilcox wasn't sure as the director of football because he wasn't sure about the three at the back system, but he gave into it anyway. And then the whole time he tried to undermine Amorim this season and tell him he needed to play a different system. And the whole time he was promised certain transfers to be brought in to fit into his system. None of that materialized in January. And himself and Amorim apparently had a meeting that came to a head on Friday. Amorim went into his press conference and basically said the sporting director, the scouts, everybody needs to do their job, and he'll do his job that he signed up for the next 18 months, or they have to fire him. And they went out and fired him the very next day. So it's just a horrible look, really poor management and ineptitude from the board all the way up to the top.
Yeah, so I don't actually feel sorry for him. I'm actually delighted for him. It's like he's been pushing to get sacked since November of last year after about 6 games, and he came in. I think he knew then that this wasn't for him. I think he knew he was going to be undermined left, right, and centre. He was basically asking to be sacked after one of the games. Like, if they want to sack me, they'll have to sack me. I won't quit. Um, the one thing that really annoys me, and everything you said is you're absolutely dead right. I presume he was told in the summer, your aim this year is to push for top four, keep us in around the mix, and see where we go from there. It's exactly what he's doing. Exact same as Maresca. Neither of those managers would say, go out there and win this league or you're getting fired. If they
Mm-hmm.
were, then it's a bigger issue than we think it is. But there's no way they were told, go win the league this year. If you don't win the league, that's it. It's like try and stay in around the Champions League places. Third, fourth, or fifth, absolutely perfect. They've both done it. They've both gotten sacked for things that are completely on football related. It's egos for the boys above him, and he questioned their egos. How dare he question Jason Wilcox? I think he played for Blackburn Rovers at the height of his career. So how on earth he has a job like this in the first place? Same with Richard Hughes at Liverpool. Like, these are two lads who just play football and now they're technically their sporting directors. It's madness to me. And he questioned Jason Wilcox, and Jason Wilcox said, no, time to go. Dan Ashworth was sacked for saying he didn't want Amram in the first place after
Yeah,
United waited so long.
I think Ashworth
No?
was another massive. No, I'm going to say I think Ashworth was another massive error on this whole board's part as well, and this has just
Oh,
compounded
yeah.
how stupid they've looked since they've come in. To be honest.
Yeah. He was sacked for saying he didn't want Amarim. And now he's been proved right and he's there sitting at home getting paid by United on gardening leave because they didn't trust his opinion anymore when he said he didn't want Amarim. Amram was never going to come in and switch to fourth back. I know Xabi Alonso has done it at Real Madrid and fair play to him, but there was no way Amram was coming in and changing his system from what he was doing. Like, this is what he's always done. I was listening to a podcast today, I think it was an athletic one. They were saying that we never actually saw the real Amram 4-3-3 because he never once had the players first. He never had the
Yeah,
centre back he could and be confident stepping up into midfield. His two wing backs, like, he never played a left footer on the right and a right footer on the left at Sporting as the wing backs. He always had actual wingers, or maybe if not wingers, then fullbacks who were really, really attacking. Like, Diogo Dallo is always like a fish out of water when he's playing on that left. First of all, he's on the wrong side. Second of all, he's basically playing as a midfielder. He was never a midfielder. He just never had the players to do this system. I feel for him in that sense, but I like, there was a picture of him taken after with a journalist saying best look at everything, and he looked like a man who was so relieved. He just
yeah,
himself and the wife were over the moon, out off out for their last stroll in Manchester, like, oh, we get out of this shit weather soon. We can go back
yeah,
to Portugal and live our lives properly where no one is going to tell me I'm wrong, left, right, and centre. I'm happy for him in one sense, but he really didn't get a fair crack at a whip there at all. And that is the one thing I do feel for him.
yeah. He didn't get anything that he was promised. Like the profile of players that he wanted. The one thing point on the wingers at Sporting, he did use wingers that were opposite wing backs that were so on the right he had a left footer and on the left he had a right footer, but they were, as you said, wingers. So Ahmad fits that profile. That's why he wanted to put him into that position. But Ahmad is ultimately a winger, not a wing back, and he kind of had to shoo him into that position because they didn't sign anyone that fits that credential. Instead, they did sign some very good players in Mbumo and Cunha, but the reason they signed them is because they wanted Premier League proven players that could fit into any system. So they were already basically having a contingency plan for getting rid of Amram. And I think, like, after that, like you mentioned, he had that when they were taking those pictures of him, he literally like dapped up the photographer after and was like, "Oh, thanks," like, and all
Yeah.
this stuff. Like, the guy is just relieved, and he had been egging them on to sack him for a long time, which is the main issue I think a lot of fans have, because having a job of a Premier League club, especially a big one like Manchester United, should be a privilege in your career. But to keep asking to be sacked from that job, then you're not the guy for it, and that's one of the reasons I think. I don't think tactically he wasn't the guy for the job. I think he would have done a good job if they had the squad for that, but they never did. They never intended to get that. But some of his other characteristics, I think, didn't make him the right man for the job, which is why I think Darren Fletcher just being an interim for a game or two is a smart thing, because he's a good coach, and he'll do similarly to what Michael Carrick did when he just took for 2 or 3 games and then he moved on, because he knows he's not ready for that yet, but he's willing to do that. And then personally, I think getting Ole back in until the end of the season would be superb for club culture. So we're recording this on Wednesday. It could be confirmed by the time you're listening to it that he's back. I wouldn't be surprised they're already interviewing him and Michael Carrick. Previous time Ole was in the interim role, 19 games, 14 wins, only 3 losses, 40 goals, and conceded 17. They're never going to reach that same level again, because that is unbelievably good. But even if he could do 60% of that or 70% of that, it would be get the team basically in the top 5 or 6, which is the goal for the start of the season. The culture would be great around the club, because he is a guy that everyone likes and he understands how the team is supposed to play. And then let's look into the summer. The summer is the major part. They can't get that wrong. They can't go. I see Glasner as the favorite in the bookies. They cannot go for Glasner, because he plays three at the back predominantly. Now he does change
Yeah.
more than Amorim did, but that's his main system. How can you go from one to the other? That doesn't make sense. It has to be somebody who is adaptable and plays the kind of style that fits the club. And with Luis Enrique turning down his PSG contract during the week and saying he wants a new challenge in the summer, they need to throw whatever they can at him, whatever amount of money he wants, because an opportunity like that does not come up often. He is an unbelievable coach. But knowing United, they'll probably end up with Michael Carrick in the full time role in the summer, and we'll be back having this conversation in 18 months.
Yeah, you made a couple of points I was going to make. It can't be Glasner. You can't sack a man who plays three at the back and he didn't have the players for it to go, and bring in a man who plays three at the back and still doesn't have the players for it. That makes absolutely no sense. Um, the thing about Fletcher, it does make sense, but whoever they bring in, they have got to get top four now, because Amram I think would have gotten them top four or top five. And if you go out there and bring someone in and finish seventh, then you've messed it all up by not sticking them with Emmer until the end of the season. If you don't go and get that top 4 or 5 place now, it's so important for United that they have to finish in the Champions League place now, or I think they'll be in bigger trouble than they are already, if they don't get top 4 or 5.
Yeah, I think that could probably be the making or breaking of how the summer goes then as well, because if you're in top five and you get into the Champions League, then you can attract the likes of a Luis Enrique. But if you don't, then you can't. And obviously, still the FA Cup is about to start, so if they can get a cup run going too, that would be good for morale. I think, no matter who is the manager, but I do have a strong suspicion that it is going to be Ole. And he's recently come back to Cheshire as of only a few days ago, so he clearly is ready to go already. But we spend a lot of time
Yeah,
on football there. Go ahead, make your point, Ian.
he loved speaking on the overlap about going back to United as well. It was his favourite pastime, was going
Yeah,
on the overlap and saying he'd take any job to United, so it will surely be him.
yeah, he did a great job. In all honesty, when he was there, and the Ronaldo thing really was the undoing of him. But I think he will do a good job for 6 months or however long it is he comes in, which I'm pretty sure it's going to be him. But we'll move on. We'll welcome in Michael. All right, so here he is back again, Michael, with the squad. He's got a new topic for us for the NBA. Welcome in, Michael. Give us your topic for this week. What are we going to be discussing with you?
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much. This week, first topic, we're going to start off Boston Celtics, right? They're on the rise right now. They're number 2 in the East. Can they sustain this kind of winning? Or, is this just a facade? We're looking at Memphis Grizzlies from the last 2 years where they're a top 3 seed and they fall all the way off. Hot take, is Joe Mazzulla Eric Spoelstra part 2? That's the second question. But we'll leave you guys go first.
Well, I think that they're gonna sustain this because of Joe Mazzulla. He's one of the things that I've highlighted him as. He's like I don't even know what to say about him. The guy is just like relentless on the sideline. Like if they don't even close out for like 1-3, even if they're up like 26 points, he'll be like, timeout, timeout. And he'll just like berate them on the sideline and be like, what was that? That is why this team has been able to manage without so many pieces. Solid offensively, but the defense is the main thing. The coaching is unbelievable. These guys are just coached up, like 110.5 points per game allowed, only bested by OKC, which is one of the best teams defense wise in recent memory. They're 8-1 in their last 9 games. They only lost to Portland in that stretch. And I watched back the game that they just played against the Bulls, and it was quiet from Jaylen Brown, quiet from Peyton Pritchard, quiet from Derek White, but Peyton Pritchard and Anthony Simons played that Celtics kind of ball where they drew up plays for them. Once Simons got hot, they were literally like, "Yeah, okay, we're doing like all different types of screens for you. Whatever Missoula had in the playbook for anyone that's good and gets hot, he's like, we're running that for you." And he made 8 threes. And they won that game. They kind of kept the Bulls at arm's length the whole time. And that kind of scoring off the bench is huge. Pritchard hit his own once he hit one of those buzzer beaters, as he always does at the end of the first. He started going after that. But my answer to your question about Missoula is yes, he has the ability and basically the mentality, if not a stronger mentality than Spoelstra, because he is just like a relentless guy, lives and breathes basketball.
Yeah, I agree 100% with James. I was kind of looking at their stats over the last 10 games in particular, where they have gone 8-2, as you said, 8-1 in the last 9. But they've just been outrageous. Their net rating plus 7.6, as you mentioned, 110 points per game allowed. But 117.8 in the last 10. But they're scoring 122.5 as well at the same time. They've been absolutely superb. I picked out kind of one game for all the players you've mentioned as well, which is kind of handy to come in him. Obviously, Jaylen Brown had his 50-point game against the Clippers. But Derek White had 33 points and 9 threes against the Heat. So one of them's not doing it, the other one's doing it. Peyton Pritchard against the Raptors, 33, 10 and 8. And obviously Simons with his 27 points and 8 threes against the Bulls. So they're all kind of contributing. And I did call this in our NBA preview, and you both laughed when I
You
said the
did, yeah.
Celtics aren't going to miss Jaden Tatum that much. The role players have been superb as well. The likes of Jordan Walsh, Luke Garza, they've all been really, really good when they're coming on off the bench as well. They've just been, as I said already, they've been relentless. The coach, obviously, as you both mentioned, helps well. I'm not going to say too much more on him. He's clearly an absolute monster. They're so efficient. Brown is so efficient. They're all so efficient. They're definitely going to keep in this playoff run now. Absolutely.
Yeah, I fully agree with both of you. I think this is the best example of a coach just absolutely taking a team to its ceiling. I mean, there's no Jason Tatum on the team. Derek White and Peyton Pritchard. I mean, Derek White especially. He's got 22% usage rate right now. He's playing out of his position and he's still doing well. I mean, he started off the season shaky. A lot of people were making fun of him and dunking on some of his shot selection. But I mean, he's still averaging 18 points a game. He's got the highest stocks on the team. He's still averaging 5.3 assists on lower turnovers than Jaylen Brown and Peyton Pritchard. And it just seems like everybody on this team knows exactly what they need to do. The biggest thing for me on this team, we were talking about it before the playoffs, and I said I thought they were going to sneak in at the bottom of the conference. They could be a top 4 seed right now, and I would not be surprised. The center and the forward rotation was where I thought they were weakest at. Missoula has coached these guys up into a masterclass. They've got Sam Hauser, Hugo Gonzalez, Jordan Walsh, who looks like the best defender in the Eastern Conference. That guy could guard. I'm not going to slander anybody's name, but I've got him over a lot of people in the NBA as a top defender. And then you've got Josh Minot, Luca Garza. I mean, everybody on their forwards, he has enough where it's like, if you're not putting in the effort defensively, we can just get you out. So, I mean, 4 of his forwards have dropped multiple 15 to 20 point games in 35 games of this. And we weren't talking about any of them to start the season. I just think it's kind of difficult to see how Jason Tatum might come back 3 months, 2 months before the playoffs and see how these guys get worse.
Mm.
And I'll just leave it at that. I'm not really sure how these guys go down from here unless they just randomly
Yeah.
begin getting stomped.
I think that they're just in that kind of position right now that everybody is given so much, but it looks like it's part of their game as if they've always been doing it. Like, look at Keita, like getting 1.3 blocks per game, 8 boards, 10 points in 24.6 minutes. It's outrageous. This guy only started 6 games in his entire career up until this season, and he started 33 games, and it just looks like he's used to it. Jordan Walsh is someone you also pointed out, Shane. Like, he plays so hard, and he's pretty efficient as well. Like 58% from the floor and 47.5% from three, although he doesn't take a whole bunch of shots. He's still, like you
Yeah.
said, 1.5 stocks, Michael. Like, this guy is just the effort level, as I've already said. I can't see them going below a fourth seed as well. That is where I'd put it at this point because of what they've done. What about you, Shane? Where do you think is their lowest point that they'll end up?
I think you're dead on, especially in that conference as well. I think top four is definitely achievable for him now. I don't see him dropping any lower than fourth or fifth. Obviously, they're not going to go on 8-2 runs every single 10 game stretch for the rest of the season, but they'll be close to it with the effort they're putting in. If they'll get a couple of 6-4s, 7-3s here and there, and they'll do enough to get over the line and get that top four seed.
Yeah, 100%. No, I think we're all in agreement with that one. So, Mike, what have you got for us for our second part of this? I believe this is a two-parter.
It is a two-parter, so wanted to kind of keep it equal. We're going to cover one rising team. We're going to do one falling team. The Memphis Grizzlies find themselves in NBA purgatory with a bit of an injury bug now over the last while. They fall to 10th in the West. Now, me and James had a conversation in the preseason. I was off this team. I didn't even think this team was going to make the playoffs, so I am not surprised by the fall off at all. But how do we feel about the Grizzlies? Do we think, Ja Morant can help climb this team back up the standings? Do we think the front office should be looking to retool or rebuild, or just what's your guys' opinion?
Go for it, Shane.
I don't think they're as bad as it looks. Um, I know they're on a really, really poor run at the moment. They've dropped to 16 and 20, but they're still averaging 119 and a half points a game. They put up 137 against Utah, 125 against Milwaukee. So they are able to put up scores in bunches, but their defense has let them down a bit recently. Jaren Jackson Jr. is absolutely flying at the moment. 28 points and 12 rebounds against the Timberwolves in particular, 31 points against the Wizards, 22 points against Washington in their last, 21 against the Jazz. He's absolutely flying. I'm delighted that Jock Landale has landed on a team that are still quite good as well. I really liked him when he was on the Rockets. I just don't think they're as bad as they look. I think they are going to have a bit of a turnaround. They have let in a lot of points at times, but I think if you think this team is going to keep dropping, then you're on the wrong planet. I'm unfortunate.
I think I was on the opposite side at the start, Michael, to you. I was still believing in them. And the main reason I was is because of two players. I thought Ty Jerome and Scottie Pippen Jr. could fill in for Desmond Bain, no problem. Well, lo and behold, Pippen has surgery on his big toe before the season starts. He hasn't played a game yet. Ty Jerome strains his calf, pretty high grade calf strain in preseason. Hasn't played a game yet either. So I would point to those two players as being massive reasons why the team hasn't been as good as it can be. Secondly, I'd say Shane, you're right in that their last number of games, their offense has been improved. The defense maybe a little bit questionable at times, but overall the defense has been the strength, with the 13th ranked in the league in terms of defensive rating. But the offense has been stagnant. Now we saw in the last few games it got a little bit better, as you mentioned, Shane, and that down to me is probably down to Cam Spencer. When he had a good run, they looked good. He went a little bit quiet, but again against the Spurs, he was unbelievable. He is a very, very good player, and it's such a smart move by the Grizzlies to get him in because they drafted him in 2024. He had just won the national championship with UConn. So if you're a winner, you already know how to win, and you're coming from a very, very good program it's kind of no wonder that he's stepped in and showed what he can do. Like, they were 8 points down at the half to Spurs. He went off 20, 21, 8 and 8, some beautiful passes off drives. And he scored the 2 clutch buckets at the end as well. And it just kind of shows that this team kind of has a little bit of something. But I'm in the middle of your question, Michael, because yes, they need to retool at the front office, and that retooling is get rid of Ja Morant, the biggest tool of all,
Yeah.
and keep building around what they already have. Keep Jaren Jackson Jr. He could have done better this season, but he is on the uptick, as you mentioned, Shane. And they're pretty strong on the boards, despite him not being the greatest this season or in general on the boards. And yeah, I just think that this team is in a nice position to probably get into the play-in and then move on Ja and actually look better for moving him on.
Where does
Yeah,
he
I
go though?
can't like
Who wants him?
I don't
it's
know.
the
We had
same
this chat
thing.
recently.
Who
It's like
I
it's you can't get rid of him.
It's
Just bin
such
him
an
off.
interesting conversation topic because with Ja Morant, you wanna put him next to a center or a big, so you can have that pick and roll option. But a lot of the teams that have a big or a center that they want to put a point guard next to, I don't think they want to give up all of their pieces for Ja Morant. Like,
Mm.
I think they have other pieces that they prefer to keep developing over bringing in a guy who might get suspended for another 30 games. I don't know. Now, he's been quiet this year. It, thank
But
God. But
he's still after missing what so far. I have it here. How many games he missed? He's already after missing 18 games this season.
and
Nice.
and as well with that, I think the biggest thing is like every time I get a notification, Ja Morant is missing out the game. I know Cam Spencer is gonna go crazy. I know Cedric Howard, who has been a
Mm.
fantastic draft pick
Mm-hmm.
for the Grizzlies, is gonna go crazy. Vince Williams Jr. I really like his game. Uh, Usage rate isn't super high, but I love when he's on the court. And one player we're not talking about, Zach Edey. Before he
Mm.
got injured, that man was
Yeah.
balling. He looked fantastic next to Jaren Jackson Jr. I just think that this team is so good already when Ja is not on the floor that if you can get him for if you can get you don't need pieces. If you can get someone maybe not on the same level but that really fits your coach's system, I think this team could be like a top 4 seed next year. But it depends on the trade that they make
Mm.
because I mean, I was super high on Santi Aldama. He has not been the answer for them this year. They've turned to Cam Spencer and some of the other players, but um, I just think it just really seems like Ja Morant almost drags this team down a little bit
Yeah.
when he's on the floor. Now, I've been watching a crazy amount of Grizzlies games, but the few times I see it, I mean, I've watched him with Cam Spencer as the main guy, and I've watched him with Ja Morant as the main guy. And Cam looks great. Cam looks much more comfortable. Looks like he's much more used to it. Has a semblance of how he wants to orchestrate the team. Ja just kind of seems like sometimes he just wants to like get his thing off, and then it doesn't really matter if they win or lose. I don't know.
Yeah. 100%. That is how he
Now,
plays, and it's
he
detrimental.
was talking mad trash to Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe in that Sixers game. All right.
And they put him in his
I
place.
want you to know, now, John Moran, stop talking. Stop talking. Stop talking. You are not fine in the West. You're not fine in the East either, okay? VJ Edgecombe put that to sleep. Thank you very much.
Yeah, 100%. That is true as well. Like when you're talking your trash or whatever, and you have to do it to a rookie because you barely play, and then that rookie just literally buries a three over you to win the game after already making mincemeat of you during the whole game. Then that's the level he's at now. It's kind of sad, and I don't know where he goes, but I would almost do a deal where another team just absorbs his salary, and I take on salary matching of players that they don't want, and maybe you get one guy that you like in there. Because at this point, I don't know what they get, who wants him. Like we've talked about this so many times, and you've said it, and it doesn't make any sense of any team willing to go, we'll do even a like for like. I don't think you get anyone even up to his level because he's a very good basketball player, but he just does not play. Basically, he's not on the court, and he's just messing around whenever he is. And you spoke to guys, even like Aldama hasn't played that much this season, but that's the type of talent they have waiting in the wings. And I think that this team is, and Vince Williams, he was brilliant against the Spurs off the bench, made some nice threes, and these things are compounding. I think they'll make a nice team in the future, but they have to get rid of Ja. If they keep him there, it just drags them down. But this season, I think it's already too far into it, and it's too laid out. And the strong teams above the rest, that they can't really break above the play-in. But unless they really get their act together, I don't know, will they actually make it out of the play-in should they get in there?
Yeah, play-in for me as well. But they won't go any further. I know I was saying at the top that they're not as bad as you think, but they're not as good as the teams around them either.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm the exact same. They're stuck in the play-in for me, and honestly, they probably lose the play-in. They seem to be in the play-in every year, and it's just like it's like an empty win almost if you just get in the first round and then just get bonked out. It's a little bit demoralizing.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to mention as well before we leave, I mentioned Cedric Howard. The 2025 draft class is fantastic. Let me talk about
So
it.
good.
The
So
amount of
good.
rookies that are playing. Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, VJ Edgecombe, Con Canupo. I mean, Trey Johnson's doing okay for the
Trey
Wizards.
Johnson is
Ace
shooting the
Bailey.
lights out.
I haven't paid that close attention now. I don't be watching the Wizards like that, so I might need to lock in on that.
I've seen some tape on that, man. I've seen some cut-ups by some Wizards fans. If he crosses half court, he shoot. Like, he is unbelievable.
Yeah. I've gotta get in the know. But like, even going down, I mean, Jeremiah Fears, Edgar Domin, who's all right.
Colin
I
Murray
was
Boyles
kind
has
of
been good too.
way higher. Exactly. And then you go into Hugo Gonzalez as well. Neek Clifford has been great. Ace Anua and Drake Powell. You go into round 2 and you got Ryan Kalkbrenner.
Ryan Nembhard.
Like, exactly. There's so many players in this draft class that I was so surprised to see make an impact immediately. Like, seeing Cedric Howard come out and in like 20 games already have like a couple of 20-point games under his belt. Whoa. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like the talent in the NBA is increasing every single year, and it's so interesting to see these rookies come in and make like real, genuine like contributions to their team. Now, it might also be a whole thing with the NIL where players might come in, stay in the NBA, like stay in college for a couple years longer, and maybe they're trying to come in more NBA ready to provide immediately for a team. But it's exciting. It's exciting knowing that we're going to get 20 guys in a year who we've never seen before play on an NBA stage, and they're all going to play really well. Like, this Rookie of the Year race might be really, really interesting if there's no injuries.
Yeah, I think it's actually a great point. I think we need to spend a full topic on that later into the season as well at some point, because it's looking at these guys there's so much to talk about. And I think one thing I wanted to say on another note, I know Shane, you mentioned Jack Landale, but if anyone has not seen him shoot, he's a good shooter, but he has the weirdest shot I have ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, he shoots and then he's like lands with his legs out like this. Like, I don't know what it is. You would think he's trying to bait for a foul, but his legs go wider than even the person landing. It's the funniest thing I've seen.
It was
but
very
yeah,
like get Garrison Andrews or whatever his name was, and the Rockets as well, like the strangest when he was shooting from 3. He was like a falling bird out of the sky and he was coming back down. His limbs are just going all over the place. He get the shot up and his arms be going like this coming down. You're like, what are you doing, man? How are you a professional basketball player? And you look like that coming down from shooting a 3. But Jack Landale is the exact same. His legs just go out. It is really, really strange. I noticed it last year as well when he was on his limited minutes with the Rockets.
Yeah, so give that a watch if you want a bit of a laugh at a good shooter. We're not laughing at his abilities, just the way he does it. It's pretty funny. But thanks again to Michael for coming on. As we've already mentioned, you're going to get this main man on every 2 weeks to come with a topic for us, and we're going to chat through it just like we did. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and we will chat to you again in 2 weeks, Mike.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'll see you then.
All right, so let's get into Gan Seans. Last week we both had one pick each correct, so all my three picks were Fulham to beat Liverpool. I actually did say that it's more likely to be a draw. It was a draw, but that doesn't get me anything here. Panthers to beat the Bucks, that did not come off, although the Panthers did still make it into the playoffs somehow. And then I had Sixers to beat the Knicks, which was a win. Then you had Niners to beat the Seahawks. Again, that was a toss-up going into it, a bit of a boring game in the end. The Seahawks got the win. Then Hawks to beat the Knicks, you had that one to correct, and then Sunderland to beat Spurs, which did not come off in the end. I think we both have the Knicks to lose, and it both came off for both of us in two different games, despite them being great all season up until that point. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But I'll throw it to you to get your picks first for this week.
Yeah, so I'm going Hawks with 17 and 21 to beat the Nuggets, who are 24 and 12. I seem to have this kind of magic spell over the NBA that whatever I say comes off, and I'd like to see the Nuggets lose another couple of games. It was a really difficult week to try and pick one. I think the Hawks are better than their record as well. So why not go and beat the Nuggets? I don't know if Jokic should be back. Maybe he won't. Maybe he will.
No, I
We'll wait
don't
and
think
see,
so.
but hopefully not. So second up then I have Millwall at 15-4 to beat Burnley, who are 3-4. Millwall are flying in the championship. Burnley are fighting for their lives in the Premier League. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Millwall went to Burnley and just got a bit of a result out there. And finally, the NFL was a nightmare because there was no real favourites. Every game was they were both odds on. So I just went with the 49ers at 7-4 to beat the Eagles, who are 4-9. I actually think it's a good bet. I don't like this Eagles team much. Don't like this Eagles team a whole lot, to be honest. So I wouldn't be surprised if the 49ers did beat them here.
Yeah, that's funny, the picks, because I've got a couple of the same ones as you. So I've also gone with the Hawks to beat the Nuggets. So if you're on a hot streak on the NBA, it's good that I'm on the same run as you for this week. Yeah, I just think the Hawks being 17 and 21 doesn't reflect really who they've been or who they can be. And the Nuggets are going to be without Jokic, Cam Johnson, and Valanciunas, so no real center. Maybe Christian Brown, Gordon, and Murray will be able to play, but that's not confirmed yet. So I like the Hawks here in this one. I've also got Millwall to beat Burnley. So Millwall fifth in the championship. They're pretty solid defensively. And Burnley, like you said, going terribly in the Premier League. I just think this could be one where there's a scalp had, and you can see Millwall getting in at 4-1. I think it's actually a really good price. And then last up, I've gone for the Bears to beat the Packers. So the Packers are 5-6. I'm surprised that the Packers are favourites in this one. Saturday at 1 a.m. It's, well, Friday night going into Saturday at 1 a.m. But I think this one is going to be very close. It's hard to call, but I like the Bears getting the win and clinching the series on the season 2-1 because they have one each so far. So I like that one there. That's my three picks then. So it's the Millwall to win, the Bears, and not the Seahawks, the Atlanta Hawks. So let's move into NFL then. We've got the first weekend of the playoffs ready to come. But first, we have to give our clutch player of the week for the last regular season week. And I think it shouldn't go to anyone else. We're both in agreement. Myles Garrett, he has to get it. Firstly, not only did his team win because of defensive play, but he finally broke the sack record. Last game of the season, fourth quarter, he admitted after the game that he was quite nervous that it wasn't going to come off the longer the game was going on, but he got there. The pace off the line was absolutely insane. He came off that line in 0.17 seconds. Usain Bolt comes off the starting line in 0.165 seconds at the Olympics. And Myles Garrett is 6'4" and 123 kg. That is not human. Like, that is just insane. 23 sacks surpasses the 22 and a half previous record. Yeah, I'm glad he got it because he deserves it.
100%. Yeah, the timing, the speed on the line was one thing I was going to say as well. It was mental when he sent me that stat. I was like, how on earth is that possible? Like, how is a man that size able to just get up and go that quickly? And no one laid a finger on him before he got to Joe Burrow, really. He just kind of ran past everyone, and he was in Burrow's face before Burrow knew anything about it. I think he was always going to get it. I'm actually surprised it took him until the last game of the season. I said if when we brought him in for Clutch Player of the Week last time that he could have gotten it the next weekend, but it actually took him the 4 weeks to get to the final 4.5 sacks. What a player. It's such a, I'd say it's like, I know he's getting an absolute ton of money, but I'd love to see him on a team contending for a Super Bowl. I think he is that good. He'd walk into any single team in this league comfortably, 100%. I'd love if he got a trade in the summer somehow to anywhere that's pushing to win a Super Bowl and see what he could do there with more really, really good players around him. Imagine what he could do if he had proper players blocking in front of him that he could just get straight to the quarterback every single time. He could get 30 or 35 sacks at the speed he gets off the line as well. He's
Yeah,
just, what a player.
yeah, and to look at some of the data behind it as well, like when TJ Watt had 22 and a half a few years ago, he had 616 passing snaps that he faced. Myles Garrett had 437. So it was taking him way less snaps to get to the quarterback than it took TJ Watt. Like if he played an extra 170 odd, 179 snaps, he probably would have had another 15 sacks. Like he's just on another planet compared to these other guys. Like it doesn't matter if it took an extra game compared to Michael Strahan. The facts are still the exact same as this. So he is the
Yeah,
best, no matter what. And also, if you look at the double team rate, which falls into your point, if he played with other like solid players, even a team that had a couple of decent DTs or someone okay coming off at linebacker, able to sack the quarterback too, he would have way less of these double teams. So he's double teamed 57% of the time this season, whereas TJ Watt was double teamed only 15% of the time in 2021. Now, this is not to be like, oh, he's
mad.
like poo pooing on TJ Watt, but like he is
Yeah,
just a better player, and he just did have a better season this year than the one where TJ broke the record. So it's no comparison. Myles Garrett, probably the best defensive player we're ever going to watch with his ability, and like you said, I hope he does get to a team where he is contending. But again, it was his decision to take this money, so yeah, that's a
yeah,
tough one to think about, because if he didn't make that decision, he could have waited it out and he could have demanded a trade, or he could have done something else. But he's got the money and he's got the record, so fair play to him, getting our last clutch player of the week performance locked up. So let's move into the playoffs then, because that's the main thing right now. We've got the wildcard weekend about to start, so if you want to, we'll run through our wildcard picks, and we might give a shout of what one we think is our biggest lock, maybe in the AFC, and our biggest lock in the NFC for teams we think are going to win. And then once we do that, we're going to do the same thing we did last year, where we give who we think is going to win the divisional round, the conference championships, and then the Super Bowl itself before the whole thing kicks off. So we'll start off with the wildcard round. First up, Panthers at Rams, or should I say Rams at Panthers on Saturday at 9:30. So I think this one is pretty handy. I'm going with the Rams here. They've just been one of the best teams in the league, and the Panthers just stumbled their way in here. It's just going to be a blowout, I think.
yeah, agreed. I don't see how the Panthers can come in here and do anything to this Rams team, they're good both sides of the ball. So yeah, it should be a handy one for the Rams.
Yeah, and this one is going to be my lock in the NFC. I think it's the best shout on
Yeah,
that side of it. So I think that's probably the most obvious pick. So let's move in then to a very big game, which I'm glad it ended up this way. I'm glad the Bears got the 2 seed so that they could play the Packers, because those two matchups during the year already were electric. That rivalry is back in action. So this is at 1 a.m. on Saturday night. Bears versus the Packers in Chicago. I don't know. I'm going with the Bears here for this one. I picked them in Gan Seans, but I also do think they're going to win. I think it's very, very close in the odds for a reason, but I just think that Micah Parsons, if he was playing, I would lean Packers here. But with the Bears, I just think their ability to score points, and Caleb will have more time than he would have had otherwise to make some of those big plays. And I think this is one where the Bears sneak it, maybe by 3 points, but I think it's definitely going to be a thriller.
yeah, I have the same as you again. I only went with the Bears because they're at home. If it was in Packers land, whose the stadium name has completely left me. But
Lambo.
if the Bears are going away to the Packers, I think it'd be a completely different story. Yeah, Lambeau Fields be a completely different story. But I just don't. I think the Bears just going to have just the smallest bit too much for the Packers. Their own place without Micah Parsons makes a massive difference.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. We're both on the same vein there. So let's move into the Sunday games. I'm surprised the Jags and Bills game is on early at 6, because this is an absolute whopper of a game. this is a hard one to call for me. Sunday, 6 p.m. in Jacksonville. I'll let you go first with this one. What do you think?
I have the Bills beating the Jags. I think Josh Allen is just going to love the fact he's finally not playing against Patrick Mahomes, and he's going to just go out there and do a job in the Jags. I think it won't be comfortable by any stretch. I think, especially with Trevor Lawrence has really turned the corner. He's obviously listening to us, absolutely bait him around the place for about 6 months. So he's finally starting to do things. But I just think Josh Allen is a class above and will prove it.
Yeah, I prefer the Jags team based on their last like 7 or 8 weeks, and their defense is way better than the Bills. But like you said, it's just hard to imagine a world where Josh Allen doesn't get through the first round in a year where Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes are already sitting at home and Joe Burrow. So if they miss this opportunity, they'll never get there. So this is a huge chance. They cannot fall at the first hurdle. I think they'll be massively geared up for this. I know Allen didn't play against the Jets, but no better team to get you ready than a spanking of the Jets a week before your playoffs begin. So that'll do the confidence good. The Jags' rushing defense is excellent, so that will nullify James Cook a little bit. But I just see the Bills maybe coming away with a big interception here at some point and seeing this game out. So I'm going with the Bills, but this was probably the hardest one for me to call. It really was, and I'm going with the Bills, but mainly just for the fact that I think they cannot waste this opportunity. Going into
Yeah.
half 9 then on Sunday, I've got an Eagles and 49ers matchup. We've got that up next. So, God, this Sunday, like the two games that are on at a reasonable time are electric games, which is great for us over here in Ireland. So, Eagles 49ers in Philadelphia. What do you make of this one?
I have San Francisco winning this. Just something in me just doesn't think the Eagles are going to get as far as they think they are this year. Jalen Hurts' season has been so funny. He's been so up and down. Not funny in a good way, funny like what's going on here, kind of funny. He's just been a bit like going halves without making passes. The Eagles, that Cowboys game still sticks with me. The fact they managed to throw that away from 21 lead, 21 nil up. If Purdy and McCaffrey get back to what they were doing the 2 weeks before the last regular season game, then the Eagles could be in for a very, very long night. I backed San Fran and Gan Seans, so I just have to back him here as well, or I look like a bit of an idiot.
Yeah, yeah. I was one where at the start of the week after the season ended, I was like, right, Purdy playing well. We thought maybe the Seahawks game would be a toss up, and will they're definitely going to take down this Eagles team. But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I just don't know because they have to travel to Philadelphia, play in that hostile environment after just playing against the Seahawks at home and thinking that they could wrap it up there. They didn't get it. And Kyle Shanahan made it very clear that he wanted that bye week, that the team needed it with the injuries. And a major, major thing is Trent Williams. So Trent Williams was out for the game against the Seahawks, and Brock Purdy was under severe pressure. He could not get any time on
Hmm.
the ball and to figure out what he wanted to do. And that's happened every time that Purdy has been without Williams. He's been poor. There's times when he didn't have Debo and CMC last season, and everyone was saying, "Oh, it's because those two guys are out that they're not playing well." But it was because Trent Williams was out. Because as soon as he came back in, Purdy started putting it together again. It's just so important to have him fit, and he's not fit. He couldn't play in the last game. He'll probably do everything he can to play in this one. But if he's not right, going up against Jalen Carter, Jalix Hunt, Brandon Graham, to name a few, on this Eagles defense, I just see it being a long night for the Niners really trying to get something going. Hurts probably won't light it up either. But I just think that the Eagles at home, they're just going to stumble their way through here after having a bad regular season. I think they're going to get a nice run here. I think the seeding lines up nicely if they win this one. So I'm going with the Eagles for this one. That's our first one that we've been different. So we'll move into the late
Yeah.
game then for Sunday night. Patriots at home to the Chargers. I think the Patriots got a really nice matchup here. Obviously, that's what you get for having the 2 seed because the Chargers' offensive line is banged up. But the Patriots' red zone defense is awful, so I think the Chargers will definitely score points. But I just think that they don't have enough on their offensive side of the ball with the O line being banged up to keep up with the amount of points that the Patriots will score. The Patriots are good, very good at getting up and down the field. they will definitely give up points. They don't have an elite defense. This will be a lot closer than people think because the Chargers defense is fully rested. They rested them against the Broncos. Deion Henley didn't play. Tui Pilato didn't play. Derwin James didn't play. All these guys are ready to go. So it's going to be a close game, but I think the Patriots being at home and the Chargers O-line being banged up is going to be the difference in this one. Very tight game, but I'm giving it to the Patriots.
Yeah, we're different again. This was the one that was the toughest for me to pick out of these two. Of all 6 matchups we're looking at, I just think like Drake May's season has been too fairy tale. I don't see him going on a fairy tale run in the playoffs either. They've had a nice schedule, to put it lightly, but they have navigated it really, really well. I just think that Justin Herbert might just have a small bit too much to get the Chargers over the line in this one. It's going to be very, very close. Could be one of those run the clock down and kick a 4 second to go field goal and the Chargers just win it. But I just don't see the Patriots getting this fairy tale run to just even getting out of this round, out of the wild card.
Yeah, I like that pick, to be honest, because initially I was thinking Chargers, but then I was like, I can't go for the 3 wildcard teams to win. And I just that line worries me, but I really like you going with them there because I think they've had it so easy, the Patriots. The easiest schedule I think any team has had since like 2003. So yeah, you're dead right about
Mm.
that. Last up then, our last AFC matchup is the Steelers at home to the Texans. The Steelers snuck in by the skin of their teeth, beating the Ravens on a missed field goal by the Ravens on Sunday Night Football last week. This one is now Monday night, probably because the Steelers played Sunday night last week. But I don't know why the Steelers are even here, to be honest. I'm sorry, I don't see them even putting up more than 10, 13 points in this game. This Texans defense is ferocious. The Steelers offense is a bit turgid, even with DK Metcalf. Like, he's not going to be able to get anything going on Derek Stingley. It doesn't matter if he's back. And then you have the Steelers secondary was blown wide open by the Ravens multiple times. So I think now we're looking at Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel being able to go deep for CJ Stroud. It's just a perfect matchup for the Texans, and I have them winning comfortably. They're my AFC lock for this round.
Yeah, there's not a hope that the Steelers getting anything out of this at all. Joe what? They're going to be my lock as well because the other two are a lot closer, and this is going to be. This is basically a bye week for the Texans. They can start resting CJ Stroud from the middle of the third quarter on, with the way I think things are going to go. Aaron Rodgers is going to be put into retirement after this anyway. He's not going to be able to get going at all. Texans are going to absolutely walk this.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think it's the easiest one to pick for me, to be honest. I just can't with the even the Panthers. They already beat the Rams this season, so you actually never know. It might be a bit spicy, but they won't go near them. But I just think the Steelers just don't have a chance, in my opinion. Apologies, there's a lot of Steelers fans in Ireland, but that's just the way I feel.
Yeah.
So let's just run through all of our wildcard picks and throw out our locks for each one before we move on to the next round. So I'm going with Ravens over Panthers. I'm going with Bears over Packers. I'm going with Bills over Jags. I'm going with Eagles over 49ers, Patriots over Chargers, and Texans over Steelers. With my lock in the NFC is going to be the Rams to beat the Panthers, and my lock in the AFC is going to be the Texans to beat the Steelers.
Yeah, so we have the same lock-ins anyway. I've gone with the Rams to beat the Panthers, the Bears to beat the Packers, the Bills to beat the Jags, the Chargers to beat the Patriots, the Texans to beat the Steelers, and San Francisco to beat the Eagles.
Nice. I like that we've got a couple of different ones, so that makes for some different matchups here. So we're into the divisional round now. I'll go first with the AFC, and I'll let you go first with the NFC. So I've got in mine, I've got Broncos hosting the Bills. I believe you'll have Broncos hosting the Chargers because of the seeding.
Yeah.
So I've got Broncos hosting the Bills, and then I've got the Patriots hosting the Texans. I'm going with the matchup that I predicted at the start of the season. I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to go with the Bills and the Texans to get to the AFC Championship. I just think the Bills over the Broncos, I do not believe in the Broncos one bit. I just think their defense is kind of fallen off a bit in the last few weeks. Josh Allen, you can run against them. So James Cook will run against them. Josh Allen will move around against them. And I think they'll have a pretty sad day up in Mile High in Denver because I do think the Bills are going to come to town and beat them. And then with the Patriots Texans, the Patriots was going to end at some point for me. I was debating in the wild card round, but I'm certainly going to end it here in the divisional round for them. I don't think that they're good enough to make a good run this year, mostly because they've had such an easy schedule. So I'm going to go with them to lose here and the Texans to be up on that Patriots offensive line and for CJ Stroud to have another great day and get them into the AFC Conference Championships to play off against the Bills.
Yeah, all fair enough. I do have the Bills there as well, but I do have the Broncos getting past the Chargers. I think with the way the game against the Patriots is going to go for the Chargers and with the injuries they have already, I think it's going to come to bite them against the Broncos instead of against the Patriots. I think Bo Nix is going to have one of those days where things just go right for him and he scrapes through with the skin of his teeth to get into his first conference finals, and he's going to come up against Josh Allen and the Bills.
Yeah, I agree with you because if I had that Broncos and Chargers matchup, I'm going Broncos there. I do think that if the Chargers get through, they can't do two rounds with that O line. It's going to be tough. So yeah, different matchups in the conference championships. But let's go with your divisional playoff round. So in the NFC.
Yeah, so I have the Seahawks against the 49ers and the Rams against Chicago. I didn't put down which way it's at home, but I presume it's the Seahawks at home against San Francisco and the Rams are at home to Chicago, so I put them down right anyway.
It'll be
I
Chicago at
have
home for
Seahawks
against the
Rams.
Rams.
Oh, what is? Okay.
Yeah, they're the two
I
seed.
still have Seahawks Rams getting through
Okay.
to the conference finals on this side. I just think they're the two best, two not the two best, the two better teams on this side. And I think it's comfortable. They both have the Rams could just score points for fun when Puka is on it, and Jared Goff, not Jared Goff, who's the Rams quarterback is Matt Stafford. I'm
Yeah,
going to get in trouble for
too
that
many names
probably, but
rattling around.
yeah. But when Matt Stafford is throwing it up for the Rams to Puka, then they're hard to stop. And the Chicago team are good, but they're another team who are on a bit of a fairy tale. They weren't expected to get this far in the first place. It's going to come to an end here. And the Seahawks defense is just going to be too much for Brock Purdy in San Francisco.
Yeah, but no, I like those picks. Again, if I had those same matchups, I'd go with the same thing. Mine are slightly different. I've got Seahawks hosting the Rams, which I think I would love to have that as my conference championship game the way you do. But it's going to be a little bit earlier the way I have it lined up. And I just think the Rams, the way they put up points and they put up yards on this Seahawks team in a way that nobody else was able to do this season. And I think they'll be able to dial it up for this, regardless of it being in Lumen Field or not. I think the Rams just have so much talent. They've stumbled a little bit in the last few weeks, but I just think Sam Darnold is prone to a mistake. He might just make one in this game, and that might be it. That might be the turning point. So I'm going with the Rams to win,
Mm.
and then I'm going with the Eagles to also beat the Bears. I think it's going to fall away after they beat the Packers. I think I'm in agreement with you that kind of Caleb Williams will do well, but he probably will have to come to an end at some point because they can't keep coming back from games. And I just think this lines up perfectly for the Eagles. They get a Niners team with maybe without Trent Williams, without a lot of defensive players after a tough game on the road. And then they go into the next week and they get a Bears team, which is after a tough game against Green Bay. And they're inexperienced. And it's a perfect opportunity for the Eagles to get back into the NFC Championship just purely by matchups alone. I don't think they're one of the best two teams in this side, but it's just ended up for me that they're now playing the Rams in my NFC Championship game. So let's go back to the AFC. We've got our conference championships. You go first here this time, since I went first on the AFC last time.
Yeah, Josh Allen is getting to a Super Bowl. Finally getting to a Super Bowl. I didn't have him there at the start of the season, I don't think. I can't remember. Maybe I did. But I had the Lions there, so all my opinions just don't matter really anymore on this. But I just think Josh Allen is finally going to be lucky enough to get to a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I don't think the
yeah,
Broncos have enough. It's got Bo Nix against Josh Allen. If it comes down to quarterbacks again, there's only one winner. Josh Allen absolutely loves a shootout as well. So if this does end up in a shootout, Josh Allen will have enough to get past Bo Nix.
yeah. I've got Bills versus Texans. I had this as my matchup at the start of the year, so probably one of the reasons why I stuck with it because I wanted to just be consistent. But also, I do think the Texans are going to get here. The Bills are the ones I'm a little bit more worried about, but the Texans are their defense is electric. But I'm still going to get the Bills to win it. I just can't go against them if they get this far. I believe them to get this far. And I just think that although the Texans' defense is so good, the only player that they really say they're worried about facing is Lamar Jackson. But if you're worried about facing Lamar Jackson, you're worried about facing Josh Allen because they pose similar threats and they're worried about his movement and then the ball can go to James Cook. The reason they worry about Lamar is because they worry about Derrick Henry, but James Cook is up there as one of the elite running backs in the league. So they should worry about this. CJ Stroud can make a mistake. I think he'll do well up to this point, but after that, I'm going with the Bills and sticking with my original pick at the start of the season to get the Bills into the Super Bowl. And then let's go to the other side. Eagles versus Rams. This was also what I picked at the start of the season. So funny that ended up
Take
this
that
way.
smile off your
But
face. Take that
but
smile off your face.
we're still many games away from this. It may not even get anywhere near this point. We like they could both lose in the first round, but this is what I've got, and I'm going with the Rams still to win. I just think the Eagles will be lucky to get this far. I wouldn't have picked them to get this far if they had pretty much any other matchup. But it's just the way the matchups laid out with these seedings. So I'm going with the Rams to beat them and quite well. I think the Rams narrowly lost to them last season. I've mentioned so many times that they're the closest team to them last year in the playoffs, the only one to lay a glove on them. And I think this time they're going to knock them out. And it's not going to be pretty for the Eagles. It's going to be a game where everyone comes off the back of it and they're thinking, well, everything we thought about Jalen Hurts is probably true. He's not good enough to lead this team. And
Hmm.
Matt Stafford just made mincemeat of us. So I'm going with my Bills and Rams Super Bowl. So what have you got in the NFC?
I have the same Super Bowl as you. I have the Rams beating the Seahawks, based on just pure firepower again. Puka has had some season. He's just unbelievable. You don't really need anyone else, and you have him and you have Karen Williams to run off the back of him as well. Matt Stafford just slinging balls left, right, and centre. So many touchdown passes this season. I think it was 31 or 33 is what he finished the season on, second only to um, Drake May, who had
Mm.
over 40. But again, we mentioned his schedule. I still think he should get MVP, but we did mention how easy his schedule was. But yeah, the Rams will just get past the Seahawks. You, for the same reason you said a second ago, that Sam Darnold just needs the jet to come out in him once, and it could completely end the game for the Seahawks. If he has one mistake in him, it could be lights out before it's even kicked off. Really,
Yeah, I do think that that is the way it could go in any matchup. If the Rams get this far, they just know how to do it, and they've won a Super Bowl before with Stafford. And this defense is
yeah.
electric as well, full of youngsters who know what they're doing. So we've got our Super Bowl matchups. They both ended up the exact same. I'll give you the honors. You can go first.
Yeah, I'm going for the Bills. Mostly because you said the Rams are going to win at the start of the season, so I can't be jumping on your train now. I have to go somewhere different. But all jokes aside, I do like Josh Allen here. I think if he does get here, it's one of those chances that he's not going to let slip through his grasp. It's one of those days he's just going to be like, I'm going to be the Josh Allen I've been for all this time. I'm just going to do it in the Super Bowl. I think he'll get over the line. 23-19 is my very, very early Super Bowl scoreline between the Bills and the Rams.
Wow, interesting. I actually, at the start of the year, I did have Bills Rams matchup, but I had the Bills to win. But I have been saying that the Rams were a great bet, and I did bet on the Rams because the Bills didn't have good odds. It was 13-2, so I went with the Rams at
Okay.
20-1. As I liked both those teams, I also took them both to win their respective championships. So hopefully that does become the matchup because I'll get a nice payday there. But yeah, I went with the Bills at the start of the season, and I am just gonna change right now. I'm changing to the Rams.
Ooh.
I just, I just can't see past the Rams at this point. I just see it being another heartbreaker for the Bills, getting to the Super Bowl finally. This time with Josh Allen. It's the only. I stuck with myself on the championship matchups. I probably should stick with myself here, but I just have this feeling about the Rams this season. And regardless of how the last few weeks have went, I just think they're good enough to get it done in January and February. They know how to, and it'll be the old dog against the new dog, and the old dog's coming out on top for me. So that's my pick. Rams for Super Bowl over Bills. Since you give a score, I'll give one. I'm going to say a higher score than that. I would say 30-27.
Ooh.
So that's our run
Overtime?
through. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do overtime. Why not? But then if it's overtime, they're definitely going to score touchdowns. Let's go something crazy like what we just saw with the Seahawks. Let's go Rams 38, Bills 37. Rams go for two and they get it after both scoring a touchdown in overtime.
Here
Yep,
we go.
there we go. Goosebumps. Here we go. Oh man, I cannot wait for this playoffs to start. But that's our full run through.
Same.
We've covered so much in this episode. We'll do the power rankings super quick, and then we'll wrap it up. So last week I had the Seahawks, Spurs, 49ers, OKC, Man City, and Arsenal. I've made a lot of shakeups this week, so I've got Seahawks still top because they won. They got the one seed. Arsenal move up to second because I'm really impressed with how they've overcome this tough run. As you mentioned earlier, they had some nice wins recently and it got them to a good spot. Next up, then I've got the Texans coming in at number 3. 9 wins in a row. They're up to 12-5. They got the 5 seed. They started 0-3 and they've gone 12-5, 12-2 since. Very powerful. The best defense in the league, other than the Seahawks for me. So I think defense is strong in the NFL. So I'm going with them at 3. Fourth, I've got the Pistons, very strong this season. Only OKC have a better record, so I think it's about time to put them back in my ones. I dropped them out a few weeks ago, but they need to be in here. Next up, I've got Villa in fifth. They only lost once since November 6th, and it was versus Arsenal, who they did beat on a run of 11 straight wins during that time. They came back and they're back on their winning streak again. They're ready to go once more, so they're up to fifth in place of Man City. And then sixth, I've got the Boston Celtics. We talked about them with Michael. They've only lost to the Pistons and Blazers in December. They haven't lost at all in January yet as of recording this. And I just think they deserve this spot for what they're doing. It's crazy without Tatum and with the new team. So my six are Seahawks, Arsenal, Texans, Pistons, Villa, and Celtics.
Yeah, so I have made a good few changes as well. I have Texans going straight into my top spot. Just really like them. As you said, when I saw that they'd lost their first three and then won 12-2 in the next run, I thought, yeah, didn't even get a mention of us in this all season. So I brought them in. I've kept OKC, but I've dropped them to second. I know they're 5-5 in their last 10, but they are still one hell of a basketball team. So I have kept them in. It is good to see that they are a bit human, thankfully, but it's kind of it's at what point are they going to turn this back on and go another 13, 14 game winning runs? Seahawks are in third for me. Just trying to look. I didn't have them last week. No, I didn't have them last week. They move in for me. They're just absolutely quality. Their defense is incredible as well. Arsenal move up to fourth from sixth. The Celtics win for me two, 8-2. To be honest, I didn't look at them until I had to start doing research on them for talking with Michael. I was like, wow, I didn't see that coming. So they come in and Villa finish out for me in sixth. So Texans, OKC, Seahawks, Arsenal. Sorry, Texans, OKC, Seahawks, Arsenal, Celtics, and Villa.
Love it. Yeah, I love Texans getting that top spot. Well deserved for what they've done late on this season. So that's it for another episode. Absolutely jam-packed. A lot of stuff to cover off, but we've got it all in there for you. So hope you enjoy listening and we'll hear back from you next week.
Welcome back to another episode of Who's Got the Ball with Shane and James.